Carl, just tell me just a little bit about you being a captain, how long you've been a captain, and just your experience.
I've been working on boats, on and off since I was a teenager. I worked on fishing boats when I was a teenager. I got a license when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, and I've been working on this boat since 2005. I started on here, and I've worked on and off. I work on tugboats now full time, but I still do this at part time. So I've been on the water pretty much for 25 years or so.
So tell me a little bit about the day of the crash. Where was the Athena? Like, how did everything just unfold that day?
We were working in New York City, running a ferry service on charter for New York Waterways, which is a New Jersey-based ferry company. And we were tied up during a midday layover in Weehawken, New Jersey, which was pretty much right in front of where the plane was landed on the water. And my engineer happened to be on the stern deck of the boat, and he saw the airplane floating down the river and right down the Hudson River. And he came in and told me and there was actually another captain on board, Dave Martin, another guy from Narragansett, and he saw there's a plane in the water, and we didn't really believe him, so we rushed out there, and we saw this jetliner floating down the river less than a quarter mile from us. And at the moment that we were out there, the life rafts inflated, and like the doors opened, and people started walking out onto the wings with their orange life vests on. It was shocking to see, because it was very cold. It was 15 degrees, winter day, January. So it was very the whole thing was surreal. Took us a second to process it, and then we just decided we have to go out there and help them.
So how did your crew respond, and like who made that decision to actually respond and to get involved and to help?
We all just sort of knew that we had to do it. I mean, there was no like command structure or anything. A lot of people, when that whole event happened, it was just an instantaneous, almost like a gut response when you see people standing, out in the water about to get, in dangerously close to a bad situation. Like all with that kind of hypothermia, with that temperature, hypothermia could set in. Like when one of those people fell in the water, they'd be dead in minutes, or freezing. So I think we just all knew that we had to go out there, and basically the engines were running, and we were getting ready to get underway anyway. The boat was ready to go because we were just about to go back to work for the afternoon. So we just said, let's go. All the guys were saying like, let's go, let's get out of here. And so we just threw off the lines, and went right out and started pulling people into the boat.
It's probably, I mean, when you look back on it today, I mean, does it seem like a blur, like it just all happened so quickly?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it was several years ago now, but I mean, yeah, it's still it was all over in 10 minutes. But then the whole like retelling of the story goes on and on and on. But I mean, it was over so quickly, and it was just the crew did a great job. I had a great crew of guys on here, and everyone did exactly what they were supposed to do. We trained for a man overboard drills. We have the equipment to rescue people out of the water, to either pull them out or to use a ladder. And so we were able to. The crew was thoroughly trained on how to use the equipment. We had the equipment, and so it just became an automatic kind of process. We just sort of went into that mode, and it just worked out. I mean, the other thing that was great is that this boat and a lot of these type of boats are perfectly suited for that kind of operation, whereas like a smaller Coast Guard boat would never have been able to get all those people. This boat can carry 250 passengers. So, and we could have taken the whole airplane, like everyone on the plane onto one of these boats, and there was probably 10 of them involved in the rescue. So,
What kind of reaction did you get from, I'm sure like the passengers are obviously in shock, but did you get to talk to anyone personally?
a little bit. I mean, during the whole rescue, became very congested traffic wise quickly, so I didn't have a lot of time to actually interact with the passengers. I was busy just keeping the boat from. It became the next problem became not getting into a collision, because now all these boats were coming from all different directions and surrounding the airplane, and we were trying to keep the boat next to a little inflatable raft and get the people out of it. And so we had the pilots in the raft as well. The two, Jeff Skiles and Captain Sullenberger were both in the raft, and they didn't want to get out until all the passengers got out. But then it became an issue of just trying to get them out. But like a lot of the passengers were in shock and freaked out. Some of them were just happy when they realized that they were getting onto a boat, and they kind of, you could see that just the stress level just kind of vanish, and they realized that they were going to get out. You know, so when we first pulled up to the raft, people started scrambling, like, and kind of like, you know, so a little chaotic to try and get up on the boat. And I almost had to not yell at them, but just sort of ask them, you know, please just, you know, one at a time, you know, slow down, because that was my biggest fear, was that someone was going to go in the water, you know, and so they just had to sit there. But these people, again, you have to realize they weren't dressed for the elements. They were on an airplane, so they were wearing T-shirts, and, like, you know, they had taken all their jackets were, you know, in the overhead compartment, and it was 15 degrees, and they were in a life raft that was half full of water. You know, they were shivering, shaking. They were cuts, bleeding. You know, it was kind of grim. I mean, at the time, I was expecting to see, like, you know, casualties, and so you kind of steel yourself up for that. But then it never happened. To this day, I still can't believe that, you know, no one died in that whole thing. You know.
I mean, this seems pretty amazing. Just the timing of everything, just the way everything worked out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. It really was miraculous. There's no other way to put it, because, I mean, when it happened, where it happened. If it had happened in the middle of the night, I don't think the outcome would have been the same. You know, no one would have seen that plane floating down the river. You know, he could have done a beautiful landing, but if there was no one, the boats there to pull him out of the water, it would have been a totally different outcome. You know, and that the plane was hard to see during the daylight. You know, if it had happened at night, if it had happened in another part of the harbor where there wasn't 40 ferry boats standing by ready to go. So I mean, everything kind of just lined up to make it. I mean, it's unbelievable to think about, like, the luck that was involved in it all. You know.
What do you think about the film being produced?
I think it's great. I mean, I've talked to Sully. You know, I've kept in touch with him over the years. I mean, I met him when he came on the boat. He came up in the wheel. I called him into the wheelhouse here, and from the get-go, you know, he was the captain of the plane, so I wanted to know, you know, how many passengers were on the plane, and then we started figuring that stuff out, like, right as soon as he got on the boat. And he's a really nice guy. Like, he really is a really great guy, and he always he emails, like, to all the people in the crews from the boats, you know, like, on the anniversary, and, you know, thanks again. And I mean, he's a great guy, and I think he deserves it. You know, I think it's a great thing. You know, he really deserves to be. You know, he really is a hero. So
We'll go to see the film.
oh yeah, I'm sure I'll go check it out. Yeah, yeah, I probably won't be at the premiere, but I'll go check it out.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.